peaceful town of Wymondham. But at some point in history, this place wasn't peaceful at all. This is a National Lottery Heritage funded project. 2 schools researched the story of crime and punishment in the 1500s, 1700s, and 1800s. Hello, I'm Alex Holmes, and today I'll be introducing you to a look of the crime of treason, the crime of theft, and the crime of murder. To see what punishments were given out in those distant days, and to see what today's equivalents might be like. We start here at Wymondham Abbey. It's the mid-1500s. You are a poor townsfolk member, living your life in rural Norfolk. Your crops are failing. Your animals can't graze anymore. Your only hope is rebellion, but this is seen as the crime of treason.
The year is 1549. July 1549 to be exact, and you are residents of the town of Wymondham in Norfolk. Some of you may also live in the surrounding areas. As a group, you are made up of townspeople and peasants, both from Wymondham and the local area.
In 1538, Henry VIII shut down this abbey right here in Wymondham. This resulted in the poor being disenfranchised.
Now, the abbey was a very central and important part of the community. It offered work and help for the poor, the sick, the needy, and the old townsfolk of Wymondham and the surrounding local areas.
In 1549, this land here was used by many peasants and commoners to raise their cattle, their sheep. And the reason for that being is because they wanted to find a source of income from this area. If they didn't have that, then well, they might be starved. These places, well, they were being enclosed. And by this, the Enclosures Act basically stopped the poor from helping themselves.
Enter Robert Kett, local businessman and regular churchgoer, someone who is very much involved in the church and a supporter of the wider community as a whole.
Local landowner Robert Kett and his brother stood up for the common man.
Fueled by desperation and to some degree alcohol, as you've been celebrating a religious festival, you form an angry mob, grab what tools you can, and make your way over to the common land to set upon Flowers Dew's fences, tearing them down. You then move on to the next fences you see, tearing those down as you go, until you reach the property of the aforementioned Robert Kett. Rather than meeting you with hostility, Robert Kett comes to meet your mob, and rather than getting into a fight with you, listens to you, talks to you, and gets to understand your grievance, and moreover, agrees with you, and starts to tear down his own fences.
The townspeople called Robert Kett to assemble a team the likes that nobody had ever seen before. They met on the Norwich Road and created a list of demands. Here is what is now called Kett's Oak. They began their march from the city of Norwich. They went from Wymondham to Mousehole, tearing down fences and everything in sight. Robert's group, 16,000 people, marched their way down to Mousehole Heath, smashing down fences, destroying everything in their path, to make their way down for victory itself.
This march has been a peaceful march. I've kept order and set up the camp at Mousehole as a law-abiding camp, even with its own prison. With the help of an elected council of town leaders, we are submitting a list of demands to the king, which includes demands such that no lord of the manor should be allowed to exploit the common land, and private jurisdictions should be abolished.
The demands were received by the king, and the king at the time was just a little boy, the age of 11. The Duke of Somerset responded on the king's behalf.
Rebels, abandon your protests, leave this place and go home peacefully, and no further action shall be taken against you. A free pardon awaits you if you leave peacefully now. However, if you refuse and continue in this manner, we shall have no option but to remove you by force.
This is not what they wanted to hear. Even though they tried several attempts to contact the king, they were still hopeless. The response was the same: leave now peacefully or be confronted by force.
We've been left no option but to enter Norwich. If we are met with resistance, we'll have to use force. Arm yourselves.
The rebels, they refused entry. So instead, they decided to take down the wall by force. In 1549, Norwich was considered the second most important city in the entire country. This action did not go unnoticed.
These actions we have taken here today, I am convinced, not only justified, but I believe them to be entirely lawful.
The king didn't agree. William Parr, with 1,400 other men, rode into Norwich to try and restore order.
The king sent 1,400 men to remove us, but we were too many for 'em. They've since retreated and abandoned their attempt to remove us. We don't want to fight. Why doesn't the king listen to our demands?
My lord the king's patience has worn thin of this Kett and his rebels. John Dudley, the Earl of Warwick, muster what men you can and make your way to Norwich to remove these rebels and end this rebellion once and for all.
The Earl of Warwick and 13,000 other men marched their way into Norwich and surrounded the city walls. Kett was ordered to surrender.
There's too many of them. We're surrounded and have no possible way of defeating them. We must retreat. We have no option. We will starve if not.
Kett gave the order, and Warwick's men encircled the camp at Mousehold. Street battles ensued, and over 3,000 men were killed.
Hello viewer, you join me here overlooking the fine city of Norwich in the county of Norfolk. Oh, what's this? I have a special news report here for you. A band of rebels marching against the king of conversion made camp here. Their numbers are by the thousands. Their leader appears to be a gentleman, a landowner, and someone unknown to be agree with the king. I've just had an exclusive interview with Robert Kett that we didn't film, and I don't know why, but he said that the common land is for the people and he can't stand by and watch it be fenced off. His rebellious group have marched from the market town of Wymondham some 8 miles away and have joined the others. Right now I'm standing behind Bishop's Bridge where a band of rebels are threatening to invade the city walls. The king's men have been summoned from far afield and will no doubt slay the rebels in the streets. This has been a tumultuous time for the city, and I do dare say that this event will long live in Norwich history.
Save yourselves, men. Throw down your weapons. Surrender. Retreat. Retreat. Flee. Save yourselves.
I have set up a special commission to deal with these lawbreakers. Those who surrender and lay down their weapons and plead for pardon may be granted so long as they return home immediately, his brother, and his chiefs, and anyone who resists should be captured and punished for their actions.
And captured they were. 49 of the rebels on this site were hung for their actions.
We tried to make our escape, but were captured. I've been offered a pardon since then on 2 different occasions, but we have done nothing unlawful. We've done nothing that warrants the pardon.
Robert Kett was tried and convicted of treason. He was sentenced to be hung at Norwich Castle. Here, on the 7th of December, 1549, he was hung here from the battlements until dead. His brother William was also convicted of treason and hung from the West Tower of Wymondham Abbey. Up until the 19th century, hanging, drawing and quartering was considered the maximum punishment for treason. The last treason trial recorded was in 1946. It was that of William Joyce, aka Lord Haw Haw. He was executed by hanging. This has been Alex Holmes, reporting on crime and punishment in Norfolk. This has been a National Lottery Heritage funded project, organised by ERM. We have presented work from Pathways College and from Watton Junior School. This has been in association with Wymondham Heritage Museum.